Hi, I'm Lenice Sudds. I am the Healthy Living and Learning Coordinator here at the Petersburg Library. And today I will be interviewing Ms. Dana Holmes with Manifest Now Coaching.
Thank you, Dana, for joining me today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I greatly appreciate you being here. So, can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey with breast cancer?
So I am a two-time breast cancer survivor. My first bout with cancer was back in 2015 when I actually noticed just a soreness and tenderness and a bit of discharge coming out of the left breast, and I of course didn't think that that was normal. I gave it a little bit of time, but clearly when I woke up and I saw that there was like a brown discharge, I clearly it was time to go to the doctor. I knew that. And basically, sure enough, when the diagnosis at the time when I went, it was saying that I had precancerous cells. So the doctor gave me the option of either waiting and monitoring it for 6 months or getting a lumpectomy. So I'm the type of person, like, if it's something in me that that's don't supposed to be there, then no, of course, no. So I opt to get the lumpectomy. Okay. At the time, it was precancerous cells, so they weren't diagnosing it as actual cancer. Wow. So in November of 2015, I went for the lumpectomy, and surprisingly, they found cancer when they did the pathology report. Mm-hmm. So my doctor literally called me right before Thanksgiving and was like, "You have to come back." And I couldn't believe it. He was like, "We actually found he called it non-invasive cancer," and that's when they updated my medical to DCIS.
Okay.
So
what's DCIS?
So ductal in situ. So basically it is where it's in non-invasive cancer, but in the milk duct area. Okay. So they're seeing abnormalities there. So when I went back for my for the second lumpectomy, that's when they did another pathology report. The reason they wanted to go back just to make sure they had clear margins. Mm-hmm. So luckily it came back as clear margins. No, that was all the cancer that they found in that first original lumpectomy from that pathology report. But I had to we had to have a discussion, the physician and I, in reference to if radiation was actually needed or not. Okay. So I did what's called an ONCA-2 test. Type 2 tests. Okay. And so the ONCA pretty much determines what is your percentage of a reoccurrence or not. Mm-hmm. So mine was actually a low percentage. Oh. So luckily they had found my cancer early enough that I didn't have to get the radiation and so forth. So I felt like I dodged a bullet, so to speak. But fast forward, and we were on a monthly plan, a 6 months plan, a mammogram, and also then every 6 months I would get a bilateral MRI.
So you said 2?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was 6 months. So mammogram was first 6 months of the year, and then the next 6 months of that year, going into the end of the year, was a bilateral MRI. Okay. And that was just my treatment plan here on out with the physicians, just because I was considered high dominance of estrogen dominance, okay. So a higher risk of breast cancer. Okay. So fast forward, I was almost at my 5-year mark. And so they always say, 5-year mark, you're good. You can switch over to annual, getting your mammograms, things like that. And literally, April 2019, they said it reoccurred back in the left breast. And this time, it wasn't precancerous, nothing, it was DCIS. But it was all throughout the breast. Wow. But luckily, through the grace of God, it had not spread. It was still non-invasive, so it was just all stationary in that area.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Sheesh, not once but twice.
Twice.
So let me ask you, when you first received that diagnosis, what emotions did you experience, and what gave you the strength during those tough times? Because there had to be some tough times.
Yeah, I will say, because I was so young, mm-hmm. Because they don't tell you to really get your mammogram until you're like 40. True. So for me, that was early. I'm like, what in the world, And they also tested me for the BRCA test, the test to see if I had the genetics for breast cancer. No, I didn't. So that's another thing. And doing my discovery, I've found that a lot of women do not have the genetic gene for breast cancer that are getting it. Wow. But just to go back to what you were saying, oh, I was devastated. It's like you think, like, I was like, I hadn't had any kids. I was like, what have I done with my life? You know, that
Well,
type
you
of
were
thing.
so
Yeah,
young.
yeah,
You were
because
so young.
you feel like when you're young, you're invincible, like, so to speak. And it's like you think you have all this time ahead. And it puts a lot of perspective. So I did a lot of crying. I had a little crying pity party for a little bit. And I was like, I had to get myself together because it's a mind state thing.
Absolutely. And I'm sure your family was part of that support system as well, or your faith base, if you have that. You know, whatever you higher creation you believe in.
Yes.
So I'm sure that was part of it too, right?
Indeed, yes, it was. And that's one of the things. I had a very supportive family and friends. And it was actually during that process of 2015 and then 2019, I would say mostly, where I pretty much like really got into the word and just relied on my faith, because I was like, oh, we're not doing this again.
Yeah.
But I came in, it's all about mind state, and I came in with a positive attitude, definitely that second time around.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I believe in mindset as well. So as a two-time survivor, how did your perspective shift after the second diagnosis?
I would say mentally, I was much stronger with the second diagnosis, with given the second diagnosis than the first, because I immediately knew what I was going to do. I always said if it ever came back, that I would get a mastectomy, because I'm like, I'm not going to go through this process and, you know, of just picking that, you know, just doing lumpectomy after lumpectomy and just not the unknown, because it plays with your mind.
It does.
You know,
I can only imagine.
it really does.
Yeah. Were there any pivotal moments or experiences that inspired you to start helping other people on the same path?
I would say the first time I really wasn't. I'm a very private person, so my main thing was like, okay, this is, you know, God got me through this. I was focused more on my music and trying to get some things in order. Okay. But the second time, I was already back in health and wellness again, and I knew that God wanted me to pursue helping others, because I went through this whole process from mastectomy from beginning to end, and I really followed my doctor's plan, but I also too knew what to do for myself. And a lot of that changed with my plant-based diet and doing the particular exercises that I knew that would help me get back quickly to life.
So that's a great transition. So what actually motivated you to turn your experience into a business dedicated to supporting other breast cancer survivors? So
this time, like I said, I'm a very private person. But I knew the second time around, especially given that I am a musician and so forth, people kind of already knew a little bit of my history. And so pushing forward in that transition is like, you know how you know it's a walk, it's a purpose that you're supposed to do. The first time I didn't take heed to it. I felt like I was being disobedient. And I was like, okay, God, I went through this whole process. Like literally, I went from there's a lot of people out there that don't have the support or the knowledge, and I feel like because I actually went through this process, I can really help someone, because I'm a walking testimony that cancer is not a death sentence.
That's true.
So
that's true. That's very powerful. So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned along the way that you wish more people knew? Well,
I would definitely say, wow, there's so many life lessons in general.
Just give us
well, I will say this as far as from a health perspective, or just personally?
Maybe just one of each.
Okay. Personally, you know, do not take the time that you have on this earth for granted. You know, I know we start out young and just feel like we have a lot of time ahead of us. But it's very important to really kind of like tune into walking in your purpose. As far as health-wise, it is very important to make sure that you are eating correctly and exercising, because I feel like those two were the parts that helped me recover quicker.
So it played a huge part in your recovery process. How has your journey shaped the approach you take when you work with clients today, like based on where you started and like where you are today? Like, how does that impact how you help other people?
Well, I think because of the process that I know what it is to just get a lumpectomy and then go about your business, you think everything's fine. But I also know in the back of your mind how it's like, wow, you know, you've already had cancer once. Like, is it going to come back? These different mentalities, these things that you know, that I know that a lot of people are, you know, maybe thinking about. So for me personally, I think the process of going from beginning to end, of knowing what it takes to one, to recover, when you're diagnosed, is how you feel, and then it's that process of just getting back to life. I think because I've lived and basically was in all of that and so forth, that it makes me want to be able to give that support to others.
And I'm sure you can just you can definitely identify and relate a lot more, as opposed to, say, for instance, if I'm trying to help my friend.
Correct.
You know, but you know the thought processes, those underlying thoughts, like when that person is at home, lying in bed or whatever. And let's not forget that men can also have breast cancer as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's one of the things too, because a lot of people target and just, you know, use the target of the women and the demographics. But however, that's one of the things also that I want to get involved with, like organizations that deal with men with breast cancer as well.
That's true.
Because I feel like their percentage has increased a little bit too, which is surprisingly for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think oftentimes that's an overlook. We overlook the men aspect, that they too can have it, and we don't want to do that. When we think about exercise and nutrition, now we're going to transition, Dana. Can you share how exercise and nutrition impact your recovery? Just a small, you know, snippet of how you integrated these elements into your daily life.
Well, first and foremost, I think all movement is good movement. And I know that it was the reason, because I was already kind of active and things like that, and transitioning to my diet, that was the key to my recovery. So for me personally, I just kind of listened to my physical therapist. I did a lot of different physical things, but also too, strength training was a key. Strength and flexibility, because you lose a lot of your range of motion, especially once you have had some form of breast surgery, mastectomy in particular. I had a deep flap, so it restricted my range of motion. I couldn't even lift my arm when I got out of surgery. Yeah. So it's amazing when you go from doing 20 burpees the week before to you having the surgery, you can't even do anything.
So that strength training really helped you with that.
Yes, it did.
And so are you able to get full range of motion?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to get a range of motion, yes.
What are some of the common misconceptions about fitness and nutrition for those dealing with breast cancer now?
Well, me personally, I think that there's so many different things out there. I'm more of a holistic approach. And so I think some of the misconceptions are that people think that you don't supposed to exercise just because you're going through an illness. And I know there's days when you're having those tired times and from chemo and things like that, but you got to keep moving. So you can't stop. That's the misconception. You just can't just sit there and just lay in bed.
Right.
You know, walk across the room or something. You got to do something.
Challenge yourself just a little bit, even if it's just small challenges throughout the day. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly. And I would say that you want to watch for like things when it comes to your diet. You need to remove sugar. You need to remove saturated fats, things of that. These and dairy. I don't do dairy at all.
Right.
Dairy causes a lot of inflammation and things like that. So you want to stay away from foods and things that are actually going to have a negative impact during this transition, especially when you're being treated.
Okay. In your experience, how does exercise benefit survivors? I think you pretty much touched on that. But I guess my concern now, what if I'm not ready to be a change over to plant-based diet? I guess maybe small increments of, doing something different would help as well.
So a lot of people don't even know, but you could be a flexitarian. So a flexitarian is a person who's mostly plant-based, but maybe once or twice a week they might have some type of meat or chicken. And I'm not really I would not say do too much red meat. there's different, studies on that, but a flexitarian is a great way to transition into a plant-based diet.
That's great. I like flexitarian. Let's move on now. I know that you. I understand that you host like a free virtual support group for breast cancer survivors. You want to touch on that and just kind of what that entails?
So I just started, believe it or not. It was just something that came to me, and it's a free Zoom group virtually, so that way anyone across the globe can join. It's on Thursdays, and it's 7:00 p.m. EST, so Eastern Standard Time. And it's for 30 minutes, and anyone can come up there. We do prayer. We start with prayer, and then we just have a conversation. Sometimes I'll have guests, like physicians, and just different resources that possibly others can have to help them along their journey.
Yeah, that's important. That's a great way to impact the community. How can people join this support group, and what can they expect from being a part of it? Like, can they share their story or what they're going through, connect with other people? Just
Yes,
touch a little bit.
And that's why one of the reasons I wanted to create this program or the group. So the way that they can go on there, they can go to my website at www.manifestnowcoaching.com. So that's manifestnowcoaching.com. So manifestnowcoaching.com. Go to our contact us page, and there will be like a form you can fill out and just check to add me to the breast cancer support Zoom. And then I'll know to add their email, so they'll receive the information on the next Zoom.
Super easy and free.
Yeah, easy and free.
Yeah. And like you said, you can touch more people.
Yeah.
Right. So, what advice would you give to some people who've just been diagnosed with breast cancer? What are some of just one advice? Research.
But
can't you sometimes get overwhelmed by research?
I understand what you're saying, but the main thing is, one of the things, like for me, I had great doctors, and so they gave me a lot of information, but from there, based off of what my diagnosis was I literally went to research it more, which would see what would be the best options and treatments for me. So when I say research, that portion. So that way it helps people, I feel like, narrow down what would be the best options, because you can get bombarded with information.
That's true. That's true. But that's what we here at the Healthy Living and Learning Center can help people with, is that research.
That is true.
I'm telling you. I appreciate that. How can communities like ours here at the Healthy Living and Learning Center better support breast cancer survivors?
I think the most important thing is just kind of like promoting and marketing, getting out into the community, having meetups, things of that nature that bring awareness. That's the important thing, because once you get 1 to 2 people, it just multiplies as a domino effect.
Okay.
Word of mouth.
That's good. Good to know. What are your future goals for your business, and how do you hope to continue making an impact?
Well, my future goals, definitely, I'm looking forward to making things even more affordable. I'm in the process of connecting with health insurance companies so that I will be able to accept health insurance for those who are diagnosed with breast cancer or need assistance with their wellness transition as well. Okay. So, Lord willing, everything will be in the process of going into 2025, having that extra, thing that I can help others with.
And I'm sure it's very much needed, and being part of the insurance groups will definitely give them another place, because a lot of employers will often probably, that will catalyst you into another area where you can actually help others. So that's a great idea. Is there anything else you'd like to share with those watching, especially those who might be facing breast cancer today?
Well, I have a breast cancer program called Covenant Strong, and it is a group of men and women can join, where I do one-on-one coaching with them. And it's just where we create a plan. I coordinate based off of whatever their doctors, how their doctors want them to basically face what they're going, their journey. And from there, whatever their what I do is create a program or plan of action based on from beginning to end. I pretty much am their support system for those who may not have a support system. And I coach them one-on-one We anything that they're dealing with, if they need resources, if they need some type of help with planning of meals or things, I'm there for them. So it's like I'm holding their hand through the whole process, so you're not alone. If you want me to research something, I will research, but I know a lot of stuff's already done.
Yeah, that is amazing.
So,
I think that's something that's very much needed, especially. So you're kind of like their buddy, and if they needed you to go to a doctor's appointment or something like that, you would do that as well.
I would actually assist them. So I would assist them in locating, say, like transportation, things like that for appointments and stuff like in that nature. Okay. But I'm just their one-on-one coach, where online, virtual, or in person, we may meet once a month and kind of have like an outing, just to kind of see how you're doing and things like that.
That's good. That's an awesome check-in.
Choose wellness and embrace knowledge. Join us here at the Healthy Living and Learning Center. We look forward to seeing you.